In 5th grade, I walked out of my classroom and realized that I had a couple seconds to myself as I went to the bathroom. Turning back to the closed door, I looked at one of my friends and gave him a little wave, knowing that I didn't have to sit through another couple minutes of our lecture. Turning around, to my horror, I saw another teacher who saw me and marched me back inside to let my teacher know that I had smiled at another classmate while leaving. Not only did she march me in there, and not only did I get yelled at in class, but this teacher, Miss Bergstrom, so many years ago, then made me go and call my mom in front of my entire class to tell her just the atrocities of things that I was doing to distract other students and how bad of a student I was. I remember how much this affected me for the rest of the year, and my resentment built for Miss Bergstrom and for this class. And so many years later, almost 9 years later, I can still remember that moment of being in class where I realized that my trust was totally lost for my teacher. Well, guess what? My growth in that class did not continue, and I was not happy either. Only a couple years later, I had a teacher named Madame Pirou, who was my French teacher. But things were so boring in her class. I mean, I would go in and we'd have the same lectures over and over and over again. This was in 7th grade. Being 20 years old now, I can pinpoint that day over and over and over again that I'd come into class and be bored to tears. And because of that, I started to get distracted. I started to get in trouble. And I could tell you I was not the best student in that class. But I couldn't focus at all because it was just so boring. I wasn't learning. I wasn't using my brain. We were doing the same things over and over and over again. Later, in high school, I had a teacher who I like to call Mr. Bat because he would swing this bat around in class, and that was about the only interesting thing that happened. See, no matter how hard I wanted to work in this class, I didn't feel like I could succeed. And in fact, I didn't succeed, and neither did anyone else in the class. See, we'd show up and take these quizzes that we had studied for, that we'd read the book for, and none of us would do well. And after a while, we started to lose hope that we even had a potential to succeed. See, Mr. Bat didn't show us that pathway to success. And in all 3 of these different situations, I felt like I didn't have the potential to do better. And therefore, I wasn't very happy in any of these classes either. Similarly, in high school, I had a teacher named Miss Gwelly who helped us do our best. Similarly, in high school, there was a teacher named Miss Gwelly who taught upper-level calculus. That was twice as hard as a regular calculus class, and that went at twice the pace of a normal calculus level class. But you see, students, including myself, flocked to her class to want to take it because people heard about how she made people feel in her class. See, students wanted to go take this calculus class because they knew that they would do well, and they knew that they could find success with Miss Gwelly. And instead of taking the easier way out and taking the AB level calculus, they'd take BC level calculus because of how she taught her classes. The interesting thing that we found too was that those in BC level calculus with Miss Gwelly were happier throughout the year and ended up doing better on their tests than our friends that took AB calculus with other teachers. Now, there's nothing wrong with the other teachers, but what Miss Gwelly taught and how she taught changed the way that we thought, changed the way that we learned, and made us happier in the long run, and ultimately helped us to do better on our tests. So between these teachers I talked about at the beginning and this teacher that I talked about now, what is it that they do that helps us to really perform at our best? See, this is my question that I wanted to figure out. So between these first set of teachers that stifled my learning and made me not want to show up to class, and on the other end, Miss Gwelly, who had a super difficult class, yet helped us to thrive, what is it that these teachers did that helped me and these other students to remember them so many years later for good or for bad? See, this is the same question that researcher Liz Wiseman wanted to figure out. She wanted to know, why is it that some leaders seem to amplify the intelligence of people around them, while other leaders seem to just suck the intelligence and life right out of the room? She asks, have you ever wondered why it is that you are absolutely brilliant around some teachers, while a bumbling fool around others? See, the actual intelligence within us isn't changing, but what these teachers do and how they teach us helps to either bring out more of us and helps us to grow more, or it stifles our learning. I wanted to figure out this same question, which led me to research the question, how does the teaching style of educators affect the growth and satisfaction of learners? The first point that I found super interesting was something that Liz Wiseman found in her research. She said that we found a really interesting linear correlation. As challenge level went up, so did satisfaction. She said it's kind of our happy place because we're built for challenge. See, where I previously thought that hard classes are bad classes and that I don't want to take them, Liz found the opposite. She found that as we have rigorous classes, that we're actually able to work at our best and that ultimately we're happier. Dr. James P. Comer, who revolutionized the way that teaching happens within schools, wrote that teaching from a challenging curriculum enables students to perform at the highest potential, whereas teaching from a watered-down curriculum limits their potential. See, Miss Gwelly's class wasn't easy, right? But we learned more in that class and we're happier in that class than most of our other classes that we were taking, even the level easy classes that anyone could take. I found this similar correlation between challenge level and satisfaction in a story written in the book Multipliers, where the author writes about a parent-teacher night she went to. She writes that she showed up at this night and her child told her not to be late for Mr. Kelly's U.S. history class. Unsure why her daughter was so passionate about not being late to this class, she showed up really intrigued. She wrote that after the standard 12-minute segment with Mr. Kelly, I left enchanted with 8th grade social studies, ready to quit my job and go back to middle school to learn U.S. history. But she wondered, how does he affect students and parents alike in such powerful ways? She believes that it begins with his classroom environment. He makes it clear that you are there to work hard, to think, and to learn. Mr. Kelly's expectations for the students' learning are both clear and extremely high. He believes that with higher expectations come higher results. He demands our best. He makes it clear that if we put in our hardest effort, we will succeed. And it's the success that every student wants. And when they know they can achieve that success, they're willing to work harder as well. In his book, Teaching with the Brain in Mind, Dr. Eric Jensen found that brain research suggests that when we stimulate children's thinking, neural connections are made. And when we don't stimulate or challenge these students, these connections are underdeveloped and the capacity to make these connections is diminished. See, he found that as we're stimulated in our learning, as we are pushed past our own abilities, that we're actually increasing our ability to learn and develop in the future. See, as students, hard classes are actually what's helping us learn and develop the capacity to learn more in the future. These hard classes that we take expand our ability to grow and ultimately make us happier in the process. See, we thrive in this plane of not knowing and growing and being challenged. The next teaching style that I found was vital to the happiness of students, but also critical to their growth. Research shows that as educators develop a positive relationships with their students, their happiness in their class increases, and so does their desire to work hard. So I interviewed college students and asked them about teachers that help them to thrive in their classes. It was actually shocking that without fail, almost within seconds, these students would spit out the name of a teacher, usually within 4 to 6 years, that had totally changed their life. And I wanted to know why they were able to pinpoint that name in that class so long ago, and what it was that really impacted them. And this is the thing that I found. Emma Jacobson shared this story with me. In my government class, I felt really smart, even though I didn't love the subject, and it was hard for me. My teacher really became my friend and was lenient on due dates, which actually helped us all to be there to learn. If they understand me more, then I'm willing to take the critics that teachers give me on my assignments more. I put forth more effort into the class because I really begin to enjoy it and I trust the teacher. Jared McGee also shared a story with me that really resonated with me. He said, I had a math teacher in 8th grade who would spend time answering my questions and helping me personally. Although I struggled with the difficulty of the assignments, I really enjoyed his class. See, he didn't see me for my homework. He saw me for me. I also had an AP Human Geography teacher who did similarly years later and helped me find far more success than I thought I was capable of. See, these experiences show us that personal relationships with their teachers really helped students and have helped me to want to work hard and ultimately result in more growth and more happiness in the long run. I also interviewed Henry Cannon, who was a college student at Brigham Young University, and he said that during my high school senior year writing class, my teacher was so passionate about English, and he gave us an exact formula for how to succeed. He really knew his stuff, and he was very motivating. He also had a teacher who said that he would get to know me, and I liked his class, even though it wasn't one that I naturally would have enjoyed. See, he stepped down and made me feel like an equal. These stories are all super similar, but they show us that challenge level and satisfaction actually do go hand in hand. And that as we are challenged in our learning and as educators challenge their students, that students thrive. See, we find that within all of these experiences, that students love when they get to know their teachers and when they really become their friends. Although teachers can feel like they're so far above their students, ultimately, it's these experiences that they have with their students that help them to want to learn more and to grow more. Dr. Comer found the same correlation in his years of research. He wrote that the teacher's skills, knowledge of the field, curricular planning, lectures, and selection of books and other learning aids are all peripheral. See, the crux of the learning situation is the relationship between the facilitator and the learner, which should be characterized by realness, valuing, and empathy. When teachers know their students, they have a heightened awareness of their individual and collective needs and learning styles. This knowledge should extend beyond the classroom and outside the realm of academic tasks. Essentially, when teachers know their students, they understand that in every interaction they have with every child, they're either helping to promote development or impede development and growth. So after learning these different things, I wanted to know what the statistics were. What actually happened as teachers implemented these two strategies of having challenging curriculum and being very approachable to students and developing relationships there. This is what I found. See, in Mr. Kelly's U.S. history class, 98% of his students in this class scored at the proficient or advanced levels on standardized state tests, up from 82% just 3 years previously. Jared McGee, someone that we interviewed, he said they scored a 5 on his AP test without feeling pressure or stress. Dr. Comer found that when his teaching styles were implemented within North Carolina schools, final year end exam scores, watch this, went from 42% passing the first year to nearly 100% passing in the 5th year. In just 5 years, this process more than doubled the growth and understanding of students, and students were happier. See, as students, we need to understand that rigorous classes may not actually mean bad classes. As we take classes that challenge what we know, we're actually able to develop more and grow more. And ultimately, throughout the process, we become happier as long as we have that relationship with teachers. So as you're looking for new classes, when the semesters come up, maybe instead of looking for the easiest class, find the classes that have the teachers that are willing to develop relationships with their students and who may challenge you to think outside the box that you normally think in. As you do so, your growth will skyrocket and you'll be happier in that class. To finish off, Liz Wiseman, the researcher, wrote that we tend to do our best work when we are on the outer edges of what we know, when we are doing something hard and new, and when we are growing through challenge. This is not only where we do our best work, but where we tend to find our greatest joy. See, I challenge you to challenge yourself, to really take on learning and all the different challenges that come with it. I challenge you to find teachers who are willing to challenge you, but also willing to get to know you and help you find your own individual pathway to success. And as you teach others and your friends, I challenge you to implement these same strategies, to believe in others, to show them the success they can find, to build relationships with them, and to ultimately have them do things that they otherwise wouldn't think they'd be able to do. Thank you.